I am just here to buy a car.
You? You are going to buy a car? Look at your status. You don't even have the worth to buy a single tire on this car.
Know your place, manager. Forget the car. I can buy you. Sterling, I am at the luxury showroom. Drop everything and get here. Right now.
It was 10 a.m. when an elderly man named Silas stepped through the doors of the city's most exclusive luxury car dealership. He looked to be around 65 and was dressed in incredibly simple clothes. Looking at his attire, one might assume a common laborer or a very poor man had accidentally wandered into the wrong building. But Silas was there to buy the finest car in the world for his granddaughter Chloe's 18th birthday. It was the car Chloe had dreamed of since childhood. And today was the day Silas was going to make his granddaughter's dream come true. The salesmen on the showroom floor immediately started whispering to each other, casting strange, judgmental glances his way. Not a single one bothered to get up and greet him. However, a young, polite receptionist named Lily caught sight of him. Without a moment's hesitation, Lily walked over to Silas with a warm smile. She greeted him with absolute respect and asked how she could help him. A gentle smile spread across Silas's face. He expressed his desire to look at a specific red luxury sports car for his granddaughter Chloe. Treating him with the utmost dignity, Lily guided him right to the center of the showroom, where the most expensive and breathtaking red sports car sat on display. She kindly began explaining the car's features to Silas, completely oblivious to his actual financial status. Silas was overjoyed. He gently traced his rough, trembling fingers over the gleaming hood of the car, imagining that when Chloe saw it, her happiness would know no bounds. But the dealership's arrogant manager, Preston, couldn't stand the sight of this. Sitting in his glass-walled, air-conditioned office, his blood began to boil the moment he saw an ordinary, poor-looking man touching his multi-million-dollar car. Preston shot up from his chair and stormed out of his office, stomping his feet in anger. The sharp click of his shoes brought a sudden, tense silence over the entire showroom. He marched straight over to the car and immediately unleashed his fury on Lily. Preston yelled at her, berating her for lacking the basic sense to work in a dealership, accusing her of bringing any random beggar off the street inside and letting them put their filthy hands on cars worth millions. Lily shrank back in fear. Preston then turned his disgusted glare toward Silas. He looked Silas up and down with absolute contempt, and, flashing a bitter, insulting smile, asked if he even realized where he was standing. Preston ruthlessly told him that this wasn't a charity center or a second-hand junkyard. It was the most premium luxury dealership in the city, where even those who breathe the air have a status. Silas replied very calmly that he wasn't there to beg from anyone, but to buy the car in cash as a birthday gift for his granddaughter. Hearing this, Preston burst into loud laughter, acting as if he had just heard the greatest joke in the world. His laugh was completely filled with arrogance. Pointing a finger at Silas's shoulder, he told him to look at his own torn clothes and scuffed shoes. Preston brutally mocked him, saying that even if this man's entire life's earnings were pooled together, he couldn't even afford a single tire on this car. He kept his tirade going, declaring that they didn't just sell cars here, but they looked at people's prestige and class along with their money, and a worthless 2-cent man like him didn't even have the class to stand on their showroom floor. Despite Preston's horrific insult, the peace on Silas's face wasn't broken in the slightest. Looking dead straight into Preston's eyes, Silas said in a very steady voice that a person's worth is not determined by their clothes. He just wanted the car for his granddaughter, and if they were ready to take the money, just name the price. This calm response dealt a deep blow to Preston's ego. He grew even more furious. Losing his temper completely, He said that this man wouldn't understand his place this way. Preston immediately called out to the security guards standing at the showroom doors and shouted an order to grab the beggar by the neck and throw him out before their actual wealthy clients saw this trash here. The guards quickly advanced toward Silas, but Silas didn't move an inch from his spot. There was still no fear on his face. Right before the guards could reach him, Silas casually reached into his pants pocket and pulled out a very old, worn-out, basic keypad mobile phone. Seeing him pull out that junk phone, Preston started laughing mockingly again. Silas dialed a number and held it to his ear. As soon as the call was picked up on the other end, he spoke in a very calm but heavy voice. "Sterling, son. I'm standing at that big luxury car dealership in the city. The manager here is saying I don't have the status to stand here. Come over here for a minute, will you?" Silas hung up the phone and put it back in his pocket. Preston stood in front of him, clutching his stomach with laughter, taunting that this poor man was now calling some other broke laborer's son to come and scare him. Preston and the rest of the showroom staff were making fun of Silas, having absolutely no idea what kind of a terrifying storm that short call made from an old phone was going to bring into this entire showroom in just a few minutes. A short while later, a brand new, pitch-black, multi-million-dollar foreign luxury car abruptly stopped outside the showroom. Preston assumed a massive VIP client had arrived to buy their cars, someone in front of whom he could show off his flattery. With a sharp wave of his hand, he immediately ordered the security guards to stop right there, and fixing the buttons on his expensive coat, with a very fake and artificial smile on his face, he rushed toward the car with quick steps. As the car door opened, an incredibly imposing and striking young man stepped out. He was dressed in a very expensive designer suit, wearing costly sunglasses on his eyes and carrying a heavy black leather briefcase in his hand. The young man's face carried such a terrifying anger and attitude that it was enough to shake any person to their core. Preston sprinted over to the young man, bending almost to his waist, and spoke in a very sweet and flattering voice, saying, "Sir, you are very welcome to our premium showroom. Please tell me, how may I serve you?" But the young man, Sterling, didn't even glance back at Preston. He ignored Preston as if a mere insect were standing there. He entered the showroom and his sharp gaze locked straight onto Silas, who was still standing in the same calm posture. Sterling went straight to Silas without wasting a second, and in the next moment, the wealthy young man in the splendid suit went up to Silas in his torn clothes and asked in a very respectful and concerned voice, "Dad, are you okay? Did someone misbehave with you here?" The moment he saw this, the ground completely slipped from under the arrogant manager Preston's feet. The color drained entirely from his face, turning it white, and drops of fear-induced sweat began to gleam on his forehead. All the other employees of the showroom stood frozen like statues where they were. The man they were about to kick out, thinking him a beggar and a junk dealer, was the father of the biggest billionaire in this city. Preston was now realizing what a massive, fatal mistake he had made in his life. His throat began to dry up, and both his legs started to tremble. Silas placed a hand on Sterling's shoulder, gesturing for him to remain calm, but the fierce fire burning in Sterling's eyes over his father's insult was now beyond anyone's power to extinguish. Sterling slowly turned and glared at Preston with blood-red eyes. Preston was in such a bad state that he couldn't speak a single word. In his heavy, roaring voice, Sterling asked Preston how he dared to judge his father by his clothes. He took a step toward Preston and said that making the mistake of thinking him poor by looking at his simple attire was the biggest stupidity of his life. "We have so much boundless wealth that we can buy 100 showrooms like yours in a single day and crush them to dust whenever we want. But we never show arrogance over anything. My father still wears such simple clothes today and lives with such simplicity because he never forgets his bad times. He built this entire empire rising from the ground. He knows the real value of money and the true worth of a human being. But hollow people like you, who work for a few bucks and live lavishly on others' money, you forget humanity and consider yourselves the owners. Every single word of Sterling's was landing like a heavy slap on Preston's cheek. Preston was now trembling violently. Joining both his hands, he began to stutter, trying to beg for forgiveness. He started saying, "Sir, I made a very big mistake. I had absolutely no idea he was your father. I was just doing my duty according to my position." But Sterling's anger knew no limits. Cutting Preston off in the middle of his sentence, he said that he wasn't doing his duty. He was showing the blind arrogance of his hollow status. Saying this, Sterling lifted the heavy leather briefcase he was holding in his hand with all his might and tossed it through the air, smashing it straight into Preston's face. The briefcase crashed hard against Preston's chest and mouth, falling to the floor, and its lock burst open. As the briefcase opened, the bundles of millions of dollars in cash kept inside scattered like water across the gleaming marble floor. Seeing that mountain of notes, Preston's eyes were left wide open in shock. He was stunned. Sterling immediately stepped right into Preston's face and, pointing his finger toward the entire showroom, screamed with all his might, "Now open these greedy eyes of yours and tell me how many cars are parked in this entire showroom and what is the total price of all of them. Speak! How much money do you want?" At this roar from Sterling, Preston went into complete shock. His voice choked in his throat, and he was left staring at the pile of notes like a statue. That mountain of millions of dollars lay scattered on the shiny marble floor of the showroom, and the arrogant manager Preston's breath seemed caught in his throat. A terrifying silence had fallen over the entire showroom, where only Preston's trembling and the sound of his heavy breathing could be heard. All his pride, his expensive suit, and his arrogance had been crushed to pieces under that pile of scattered notes. The fierce fire of anger was still burning in Sterling's eyes. He stepped forward to unleash more harsh words on Preston, but just then a calm and experienced hand came and rested on his shoulder from behind. This hand belonged to his father, Silas. Silas looked into his son's eyes, within which the pain of his father's humiliation was boiling, and said in a very slow but effective voice, "Stop it, Sterling, son. This is enough. We don't have to become like them by making a spectacle of our power. Our job here isn't to bring anyone down, but to take happiness back for our little girl, Chloe." There was such depth and peace in these few words of Silas that Sterling's boiling anger calmed down a little. He took a long breath and slightly bowed his head in honor of his father. He knew that his father's heart was made of gold, but he also knew that leaving an arrogant person like Preston without punishment would be like leaving a cancer in society. Sterling spoke in a very cold and piercing voice. "Look at the greatness of my father, that he forgave you even after your arrogance was shattered to pieces. But I am not as calm as him. A person who weighs others by their clothes needs to be shown his real place." Saying this, Sterling pulled out his sleek and expensive smartphone from his pocket and dialed a number. He put the phone on speaker so that every person standing in the showroom could hear that conversation. The phone rang only once from the other side and was picked up. This call was to the real owner of the city's showrooms, Mr. Carmichael. As soon as the phone was picked up, a very terrified and respectful voice came from the other side. "Sir, Sterling, sir, it is my absolute privilege that you called me. Please tell me, sir, what service can I do for you?" Without fulfilling any formalities, Sterling said in a hard voice, "Carmichael, I am standing in your biggest showroom in the city right now. Your manager Preston had the audacity today to call my father a beggar because of his simple clothes and try to throw him out of the showroom." Hearing this, a dead silence seemed to fall on the other side of the phone. The fear in Mr. Carmichael's voice was clearly evident. He stuttered, "Sir, please forgive me. I didn't know. I am coming right now." Sterling stopped him mid-sentence, saying, "There is no need for you to come. Just talk to this manager of yours." Sterling put the phone near Preston's face. Mr. Carmichael's roar echoed from the speaker. "Preston, an idiot like you has done the work of sinking my entire company. You are fired from your job right at this moment, this very second. Pick up your belongings and get lost before you are kicked out of my showroom." Hearing this, Preston broke completely. Tears started flowing from his eyes, and he lay on the floor begging for mercy. But it was much too late now.